ये समझते हैं कि शायद ये हमारी हिफाजत कर पाएंगे। कराची का कोई ऐसा इलाका, कोई ऐसी जगह, कोई ऐसा मोहल्ला जहां वारदात ना हुई हो, और आप नाम बता दें।
शहर में 4 चीज़ें ऐसी हैं कि अगर आप उनको छेड़ेंगे तो फिर मुखालिफत तो होगी। अगर आप केस करेंगे इन चीज़ों पे तो आपको धमका के और बिठा दिया जाएगा, नहीं बैठेंगे तो मार दिया जाएगा।
ये ज़रूर कहा जा रहा है कि लैंड माफिया है शहर में। लैंड माफिया कोई नहीं, लैंड माफिया हुकूमती इदारे हैं।
She didn't choose things like building a house in defense or building a house in PCHS.
She was just in love with life. She was a classic romantic on an irrational level.
In Karachi, what is happening is something where people don't get much chance to be together in a place, to enjoy things in a group. You know, because when somebody wants to dance or sing, we're not so free about it. I have been born in Bangladesh, East Pakistan, Dhaka. 1972 की वॉर हमने देखी, किलिंग्स हमने देखे। ये तो सिर्फ कंक्रीट है और कंस्ट्रक्शन है और ठेका है और कमीशन है और कुछ नहीं। ये डेवलपमेंट नहीं है। डेवलपमेंट, ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट कंक्रीट से कहाँ से आती है?
दो दिन पहले जब मैंने उसको कहा था कि अब इतना लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन ख़राब है, पोलियो वर्कर्स को मार रहे हैं, परवीन थोड़ा सा तुम एहतियात करो, तो उसने कहा कि नहीं, मुझे तो कोई नहीं जानता है।
दुबई कैसे मॉडल हो सकता है? हमारी कराची की इतनी हिस्ट्री है। हमारी कराची इज कराची।
Great to hear. Thank you, Vipiri, for joining in. This is Screen Southasia, which we host in partnership with Film Southasia. And this weekend, we screened a film by Mahera Omar, Perween Rahman, the Rebel Optimist, which is on life and struggles of Pakistani architect and urban planner Perween Rahman. And before we begin, I would like to invite our editor, Roman Gautam, to give a welcome note.
Thank you, Sana, and Alok also for putting this together, and also a shout out to the rest of the Himal team who are behind the scenes making this happen, live streaming it. Thank you guys so much. And especially a big thank you and a big welcome to Maher for being here and for sharing with us her very, very special film. I won't take up much time. I just want to thank all of you for being here, and also just to say that I think this is such an important film to be watching at this time. I think that Perveen's view on life generally, of course, but also specifically on Pakistan, from the micro to the macro, from sanitation on the ground to debt politics, so much of it resonates still. The Orangi Pilot Project as well is an incredibly special project, I think, an example to so many people across South Asia. I know that Himal has written about it in the past. Arif Hassan has spoken at Himal events, and I hope that this film kind of serves to also amplify the message and the philosophy of Orangi Pilot Project and the incredible work that they've been doing. And of course, that work now tinged with a massive tragedy. So I think as we dive into the discussion and also remember and learn from Perveen's work, I think also just want to remember some of the things she said. She talked about not mega projects, but mega management. And good luck finding a government in our part of the world that thinks that way. Sad to say, but true. But I think more than that, I think it's incredibly rare to find somebody who has touched the city and changed the city that they live in so much, and for whom their soul was part of the city and the city was part of their soul. So I think maybe it's not an exaggeration to say that as long as Karachi lives, Perween lives in some way as well. And, you know, it was not just Karachi for her. For her, as she says in the film, it was Hamari Karachi. So maybe that's something to remember as well. So yeah, with that, thank you all of you. I will hand it back to Sana and Alok. Guys, please take it away.
Thank you, Roman. So Mahera and I have never met, but I actually first saw her work, Perween Rahman, actually back in 2019 when I just joined FSA, and it had been traveling around as part of our traveling from Southeast Asia package. And luckily enough, like right now, as I was digging through the older films that we'd screened, this film turned up, and I was like, okay, we have to screen this film from Pakistan. Mahera is filmmaker who explores social, urban, and environmental issues in Pakistan through her documentary films. And there are issues such as the development of Karachi in this film, education projects in Hunja and Shrigar, and adventure travel filming. Our films have been exhibited in Pakistan as well as in international film festivals, including Film Southasia, as well as the Istanbul International Architecture and Urban Films Festival and Delhi International Film Festival. Highlights of her filmography include, among others, Perween Rahman, the film we're discussing today, and Dream Journey, a musical travelogue. With an abiding interest in Karachi, its environments, plants, and animals that share the city with its 20 million inhabitants, she works to document ecosystems that shape Karachi today. Mahera holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Biology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Welcome, Mahera.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, over to you, Sana.
Yeah, thanks, Alok. Yeah, so the film very sensitively, tries to showcase the life and struggles of Perween Rahman, who she was, what she stood for. If you could talk a bit more about, your experience of meeting Perween and, how the film shaped over the years. And I think you had another film on Karachi called City by the Sea, and how sort of that also helped in framing this documentary.
When I had first met Perween Rahman when I went to see her with a friend, and it was our first meeting, and I was really amazed to hear about the kind of work she's doing, and especially in the neighborhood of Orangi, which has a population of more than 2 million people. She had been working from the ground up. So anyway, that was an informal meeting, but we connected very well, and we talked about lots of things, and from gardening to trying to help the neighborhood deal with the rabies situation, which would have included working with the stray dogs. And she showed us her vegetable garden, and she was all about, I'm going to do composting and basically every which way to make the neighborhood, to help the people, to enable them to make the neighborhood better and their lives more livable in that area. Anyway, then I was working on this documentary about the coastal development of Karachi, because our coast has over the many decades, changed a lot. There's been a lot of land reclamation. Perween would talk about how basically the sea has been thrown back, and increasingly there isn't much of a relationship that people have with the sea, even though we are a city by the sea. There have been a lot of migrants to the city, starting from 1947, and then in the 70s. So basically the population has swelled vastly, and which has led to the city being the way it is and needing to be better managed. And anyways, when I'd met her at one of the literature festivals in the city, and then we're like, let's do a documentary together on the sewage and sanitation system of Karachi. So Karachi has a lot of natural drains, and as we've showcased in the film, they have over the years just been turned into gutters. And all of that pollution is going to the sea, and to this day, the city has started to flood more and more after the rains, and then with climate change and these events have become more and more catastrophic. And we need someone like Perween now more than ever, and I really wish she was here because the city needs her, and misses her a lot. So anyway, we spoke about doing this film on the sewage system, and then I started meeting with her and talking to her about that. And we were also going to turn that into like a little adventure. We would go out and anyway, but it was in the pre-production phases. But then little did we know that just a few months later, her life would have been taken away from us so tragically. And then, later I decided to do a documentary about her and her work instead.
Thank you, Mahera. So in one of the interviews we read online, you say that Orangi was a difficult place to shoot in, and that's somewhat understandable, though that's what this question is about. And Talad, your editor, also mentioned somewhere that they were held hostage during filming too. Could you talk a little bit about the challenges of shooting this film?
So it's generally not that easy to film in the city, especially when you're out in the public, because even if you're filming at the beach, somebody or the other will come and harass you that you're not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to film here, especially with the political unrest in that neighborhood at that time, and then also with all the illegal hydrants everywhere, something that we really wanted to film, but we were categorically told to not go there at all and to just make do with some old photographs. Anyways, we did end up over there. I mean, they're everywhere, and we managed to film a little bit, but you have to be really quick and go, like, as you know, as a filmmaker, we will do anything for to get the footage, but we would just pass by the area real quick. But this one time we went to this hydrant, which was basically the other end of the city, not even in the neighborhood where Perween worked. And so it was just my colleague Talha and I, and we were alone. We had parked our car some ways ahead, and we go and we're just filming. But generally, because there had been a crackdown on these illegal hydrants, and that was something Perween was actively documenting in her last few years. And so, yeah, we filmed a little bit, but then they almost held us hostage, and we had to rush out in a hurry, because why would anyone turn up with a camera to a hydrant and film? So people are aware of what has been happening. There's like Perween said, there's no shortage of water in the city, yet we don't get water. Like where I am, the neighborhood where I live, there's never been any water in our lines. So we have to buy the water tankers. So although there's no shortage of the supply, but to this day, the system remains the same, that so many neighborhoods just have to buy water. And yeah, so people are not at all happy about that.
Thanks, Mahera. For those who've joined us, we are live on Zoom and Facebook. And if you have any questions, you can send us that on the Zoom chat or Facebook comments. Now I'd like to play a clip from the documentary, and then we can discuss that. Just sharing my screen.
in 1947 में जब पाकिस्तान बना था तो कराची की पॉपुलेशन 4 लाख थी. 1951 में 10 लाख हो गई. उस वक़्त माइग्रेंट्स इंडिया से आए तो हुकूमत के पास कोई प्लानिंग नहीं थी कि ये जो सब आ रहे हैं लुट कर इन लोगों को ज़मीन दी जाए. तो उस वक़्त से कुछ अमीर लोग तो इधर उधर बस गए, लेकिन गरीब लोगों को भी हुकूमत ने पर्चियाँ दी कि जाओ ये बैरक खाली हुए हैं, ब्रिटिश जो सिपाही थे उन्होंने खाली की तो आप जाके बस जाओ. तो इस तरह लाइन्स एरिया की कच्ची आबादी बनी, या किसी ने कहा कि ये ज़मीन खाली इधर जाके बस जाओ. तो उस वक़्त भी ये हुआ कि लोगों ने फिर अपना ठिकाना ढूंढा. अपना ठिकाने ढूंढने में फिर उन्होंने गरीबों की बस्ती में जाकर बसे, कच्ची आबादियों में. 1970s में आप देख लीजिए जब ईस्ट पाकिस्तान बना उस वक्त भी रेफ्यूजीज़ आए, हुकूमत के पास कोई प्लानिंग नहीं थी. तो इस तरह कच्ची आबादी की जो वजूद है वो हुकूमत की फेलियर है कि उन्होंने गरीबों के लिए ना ज़मीन ना हाउसिंग का इंतज़ाम नहीं कर सके जिस तरह लोगों की ज़रूरियात थी.
Yeah, so like this section of the film refers to the partition and the migration which took place, which took place during the 1947 and 1971 migration. And I think later in the film, you again mentioned that Perween herself comes from, what was East Pakistan. So could you talk about the role of partition and migration that took place and how that sort of, played in Karachi and what led to, and the land and housing issues around it?
Yes, as Perween mentioned, that Karachi's population after 1947 especially, it increased manifold. And so of course the government had no plan, so people just basically settled themselves in the outer parts of the city, and they had to fend for themselves, and basically they just started building one-room units, going from huts to small settlements, and then over time, as the decades passed, then they just add to it. So of course there was no, and the government didn't look out for them. So it was such also like a crisis situation. But then even decades later, it was the same. And so with the result that there was no sanitation system, and it was all just very haphazard construction, and it is how it was. And then after the 70s also, during the 70s, there was another increase in migrants, and a lot of people settled in Orangi. And so that is what she helped with. Well, first they just started documenting. Like, as she said, she was shocked that so many decades had passed and there was no documentation of especially the sewage lines, and there were basically none in that region. So then she helped the people lay the primary lines and connecting them to the secondary and tertiary lines. And another thing that was that her work in Orangi led her to document the entire city of Karachi and its entire drainage and sewage systems. And one of the things that most people don't know, and I often mention this to people, way back, like in the late 1800s and early 1900s, there was a sewage system, and sewage used to be treated in this place in Karachi called Gutter Bagicha. which just means sewage garden. So sewage used to be pumped there and treated. And then they had turned it into like this garden, and there would be composting going on, and vegetables would be grown there. Kind of like it should have been like Grand Central Park in New York. Anyway, there was a system, and the city was kept clean, and people had good living conditions. But the neighborhoods that grew up like this, anyway, they laid the primary lines themselves, and OPP provided the technical guidance for that. After she documented the rest of the city, the natural drains, what she found was that all the sewage is going untreated directly to these natural drains, and it is not being treated, and it is not being pumped to these sewage treatment plants and whatnot. And that is something that the local municipal authority would not believe. Because they said, oh, we have a system, no sewage is going into these natural drains, what the Kudrati Nalas that are called. And that happened in the late 90s. But then finally, and they had no maps of anything really, but then finally they did, they did give in and say, okay, yes, that is what has been happening. And then to this day, the natural drains in the city, there's just sewage flowing in them. And even in these drains are being blocked by new housing societies, so the water is not able to go to the sea. And it should ideally be separated, and the drains should be allowed to be able to carry rainwater going to the sea, and the sewage has to be separated and treated. So right now it is such a huge problem in the city that what I think is, how does one begin to address such a huge problem, because things are basically the same as you can witness after the rains every year. This year it didn't really rain, and there's so many areas where there is no stormwater drainage, therefore the roads turn into rivers. And Karachi's population has increased even more. So it really has to be addressed, all these issues in the city.
So I'm going to play one more clip from the film. Okay.
हम तो सोच भी नहीं सकते कि इसमें कोई जिंदा रहे। कैसी हुकूमत है जो लोगों को तवज्जो नहीं देती? जो लोग यहाँ पे हैं इसको तो शहरी मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं। कहते हैं ये गैर कानूनी बस्ती में रहते हैं, इनको किसी चीज की सहूलत नहीं है। हैं ह्यूमन बीइंग, लेकिन निगेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग जो है फ्रॉम द सोसाइटीज, फ्रॉम द ऑफिशियल एजेंसीज, फ्रॉम द एलीट क्लास, जो हमारे दानिशवरान कौम है, इसकी बुनियाद पर उसका फासला बहुत था। ये जो पढ़े लिखे लोग अपनी जिंदगी को देखते हैं, नजर नहीं डालते। मुस्तकिल जो आमतौर पे जो गुफ्तगू का नटशेल होता था, वो यही होता था कि किसी न किसी को तो करना है।
Thanks, Sana. So there's this issue of citizens not being considered citizens in many cases, or facilities not being given by the government, where, especially in a place like Karachi, where there's a long history of those people living there. And this issue of illegal citizens and evictions mentioned in the film is something that we face across the border in India and as well as in Nepal. In Nepali, there's a word skumbasi, which means landless. Landless people who live around. So there are lots of bastis around Kathmandu where you find these areas very close to my house as well. There is one, and often our governments call them illegal citizens, and their houses are bulldozed, which is what is going on in Nepal as well as in India, and they're not given facilities by the government. Could you talk about that issue of eviction in Karachi in particular?
Evictions are something that touched Perween deeply. It's going on to this day. All the development that's taking place in the city. In fact, just now I was when I was just getting home, there is this river that runs through the city, and it's called the Maldives River, and it's kind of like the green belt of the city, and people do vegetable farming, and there are these bastis along that river, which it's basically a rain-fed river. Oftentimes there's not much water flowing through it, but it's always been green, and people have been making a living over there. And now there's an expressway being built in the riverbed, and when it rains a lot further up north, and there are flash floods, and this riverbed is pretty wide, and it carries a lot of water and goes over some of the lower roads in the city, and can be pretty catastrophic. Now this expressway is being built on the riverbed itself. People say to facilitate the elite going from the city to like these private housing societies being built on the outskirts, that now you will reach there in just 20 minutes, as opposed to going through the city. A lot of people have been evicted. The green belt, parts of the green belt has been just destroyed, bulldozed. So, and the project is highly controversial, the Maldives Expressway project. This is just one of many. So the poor don't have any rights, but people are fighting for their rights. The battle is going on in courts. But as I passed by today, work is going on at a very fast pace. And so many people in the city also think that, this is a very good and necessary project. And if the poor get in the way, so, they're displaced and not a care given to their rights. This happens all over the world, and unfortunately it's been happening here as well. And along these natural drains also, in the name of cleaning these drains, people's homes are broken down, and they are just left homeless and out on the streets. Their plight is highlighted, and people have been working with them to help them, but still, I mean, they're still being evicted, and entire like in and around Karachi had been dotted with all of these villages, which then Perween would call urban villages, because they had been enveloped by the city. But then on the outskirts, entire villages have been evicted, bulldozed, to make way for private housing societies, huge private housing societies that are called towns. But what can you do? They have been evicted, and these are the sort of villages and these urban villages that Perween had been documenting. So her mapping work has been so essential to the city and creating all this very important documentation. It is still going on to this day, I believe, but yeah, and that is one of the things that was very dear to her heart. Her organization was successfully able to map so much of the city.
Thanks, Mahera. So in the documentary, Perween, we see that Perween takes a strong stand against foreign funding, and they sort of decide not to take like funds from World Bank or Asian Development Bank for the project, which is again like much debated about and how it cripples the economy in the South Asian countries. Like we have seen it in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and of course like Pakistan as well. So if you could talk about, how like Perween was just sort of able to, make the Orangi Pilot Project what it is, and how she shaped it without these funds.
Once, Perween mentioned how such a very expensive loan was being considered to just lay some gutter lines. And she believed in people being able to help themselves. And she enabled them to implement very low cost solutions. She was very independent. She would say, we don't need these fancy projects to carry out the most simple and basic work. And she showed that by implementing these solutions. It all started with one lane, because initially people were like, well, this is the government's job, and why should we lay gutter lines? Like, if where I live, imagine if there was no gutter line and people were told, well, you have to lay it yourself. Well, it is the government's job, but if you wait for the government, then another 50 years may go by. So after she did one lane, and we spoke to some people who were who lived in that lane, and they were like, well, okay, well, she managed to convince them, she and her team. And when they actually fixed up that lane, it was literally initially lane by lane, and then just she was able to convince people, and more people came on board. And there are some before and after pictures in the film, that why get into all these go the way of consultants and hiring foreign consultants to carry out very basic simple work. And then that is how her work spread. They would provide technical expertise, but in so many of the neighborhoods, I mean, people did the work themselves, and it has transformed the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mahera. So there was a quote from Advocate Faisal Siddiqui during the screening of this documentary in Pakistan, that there were murder attempts on those associated with Perween as well. Could you talk a bit about about that, and what happened after the Orangi Pilot Project? What happened to the Orangi Pilot Project since Perween's death?
Well, after her death, I do know that the mapping work that was going on in one of the neighborhoods on the outskirts of the city, Gadab, that was brought to a halt temporarily. And their office in Orangi, it was, much of the staff was shifted elsewhere. And for quite some time, they were not working from their own office, because obviously there was a threat for the other colleagues as well. Some of them had gotten police protection. In fact, when we were filming, we had, a police mobile in front of us. And then another one of her colleagues, one day we were filming and we were sitting with him just to get, out of the neighborhood. And then later we found out that his car was targeted as well. Someone had thrown like a grenade on his car, but it landed at the back, so he escaped unhurt. And that is why filming in those days was not easy at all. I was told to not go every day, to go a different way each time, not go for very long, always go with their staff. So yeah, I mean, after some months they moved back, but it's not easy working in any area of Karachi, especially if you're trying to do good work. Like I've also been filming in the mangroves, and any activist who are working to save open spaces or like the coastal mangrove forest. That gentleman who was trying to save the mangroves, he was murdered. So life is cheap over here. So they will get anyone out of the way. And like one of the days, I believe I was going to Perween's house, and we were going to film there. And so we were going from the office to her house, and her car was still parked on the premises, and we needed some transport, and we went in Perween's car. And then at one point, her driver pointed out that, this is exactly where she was sitting. So people are targeted, and if there is if there is some threat to your life, they how do you escape that threat in a city like Karachi?
I also wanted to talk about the Perween Rahman murder case. So, like, she was murdered in 2013, and I think that soon after there was news that the police has captured the murderer. But in 2014, I think the Supreme Court started a fresh inquiry because there were allegations that the police manipulated the investigation. So, what's the update on it, and how did the investigation actually took place?
Well, it went on for years, trying, with the family trying to get justice for Perween Rahman. But the last I heard, the people who had been held, who were, they've been released. And I believe that's about all I can say about that. So there has been no justice. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I believe the family would know more about the case, and so we didn't include it any of that in the film either, because it is such a sensitive topic.
Okay. Thank you, Mahera. So I was watching a trailer of another documentary called Into Dust, which is also on Perween Rahman, and it mentions the nexus of corruption involved in the water supply and distribution in the area. In this documentary, there's also mention of research on water in the Orangi that Perween herself says that she is scared to publish. Could you talk about this research and what it did reveal, if you know?
Well, yeah. So basically what they had found out was that there is no shortage of water coming to Karachi, but water is siphoned off from the main supply lines before it enters the city. And so what Perween documented and found was that 40% of Karachi's water is stolen and then sold to the residents. Now that is a grave injustice, and that is, that was meticulous research. And that was something that people had warned her to not publish, and because that is a big theft, but it continues to this day. That it's just become part of the system, and there are entire parts of the city where water is not supplied through the lines. There's not a drop of water comes to our house. There's no reason for it to not to. There are bulk supply lines nearby. And after all, the tankers are also bringing water from somewhere. And there are illegal hydrants everywhere in the city. Everyone can see them. But you can't really go near them. It's a huge mafia. So obviously, if you will step on powerful toes, then and that is what happens when you try to expose these injustices.
Thanks, Mahera. So like you mentioned, like Karachi had seen like some of the worst flooding of the last century, and like a lot of it was due to the poor drainage system. So could you talk about like it has been 7 years since you made the film, and in that time, like has Karachi changed at all? I mean, what change or not do you see in Karachi in these 7 to 8 years?
I think people have become a lot more aware of what rights they do have, and maybe how a city should be. I mean, it should at least have its basic functions should be in order, as in if it rains it shouldn't flood, and it's been increasingly flooding because of overdevelopment and development over these drains. The water has no place to go. The city has increasing concrete in it, so concrete and tarmac, so there's no place for the water to be absorbed. And basically we see in other cities as well. I mean, there's so many cities around the world, they're trying to make their cities more livable, but I personally don't see any effort being made by the authorities to make the city more livable. From having a good functioning sewage system, to good solid waste disposal, to more greenery in the city, and uninterrupted electrical supply. So it doesn't matter which neighborhood of Karachi you're in, the issues are everywhere. There's a very low gas supply to the city, so people are just so frustrated but in fact, recently, just last week, there've been shutter down strike, and everything was shut on Saturday and Friday as well. People protesting about their electricity bills because they're so very high. So yeah, people are coming out on the streets to protest. So your question was, what is the city like now? We need political will to sort these issues out. And as far as the sanitation and the raw sewage disposal goes, the sewage is still not being treated, and we are polluting our coastline. We're continuing to do so every single day, and then we catch all the fish and the along the coast, and then feed that toxic fish to our poultry, and then we consume the poultry. So the health of the residents is being affected greatly. In fact, just this weekend, it was in the paper that eye infections are rising in the city, and several other diseases. So it is really time to try and make the city more livable. And I really don't see that happening. I mean, even any tree that's growing in the city, they will just cut it. We were just driving along one of the main roads in the city, and they keep planting non-native trees. And even those, when the trees grow a little bit, they just cut them off at a height of like 3 feet. And I don't know why they do that. So the city has the city's biodiversity is decreasing day by day. In fact, just yesterday I saw that someone right in Karachi, they shared that there's an owl outside my window that's there all day, and then at night goes off to hunt, because they have some thick vegetation and they can just see the owl hides over there. And I thought that was absolutely delightful, and how lucky that person is that an owl has taken refuge in their house, in their garden. And birds are something that Perween loved a lot. In fact, whenever we'd go to her office, they had a lovely garden, and she would be talking about the migratory birds, these small little birds that there's more of their population in the city in the winter. She loved all these other sentient creatures we share the city with. She was very warm-hearted and would notice everything, and someone who can care about an injured puppy in the city or look after a bird. I mean, she was very warm, and that's why everyone in Orangi that we met, like especially women, they loved her like their sister. We went to several people's homes, and they would warm up to us because we were talking about Perween, and they wanted to share stories of their interactions with her and how they would sing together and laugh together. And in fact, one of the things that one of them mentioned was that, well, you know how many NGOs can be like, oh, madam has come, and she said we just felt she was like our neighbor, our sister. She would come and sit with us at our level and talk to us one-on-one and listen to our concerns. And I've really not come across people talking about someone this way. So she had a like a heart-to-heart connection with the people of Orangi, and which is why she was able to win over so many people who had even opposed her in the beginning. Because what she was like what they were doing, it was something sort of very new for the people. But yeah, she was able to win over hearts and minds and of everyone in the city. In fact, after she passed away, someone mentioned how she was known as the mother of Karachi. She had so much more work to do in the city, but unfortunately, she was taken away from us too soon and too tragically.
Thanks, Mahera, for sharing that. We have an audience question from Anuhita. So she says that the documentary is no less moving for watching it again and after so long. If anything, it needs to be seen even more so now in these tough times for all of us. I had two questions for Mahera. How do you feel about the documentary looking back at it now? And what has happened to the area where Perween worked? I think you've answered the second question before, but then how do you feel about the documentary looking back at it now?
It's very touching to hear from people who've even just watched the documentary for the first time recently, because it is very much a documentary about Karachi as well. So anyone watching it can learn a lot about the city. In fact, if I meet some people and they want to know what Karachi is like and what are some of the issues the city faces, I tell them to watch this, because really you get to know Karachi also a little bit. And in fact, one of the nicest compliments that I received, well, we managed to put this film together with some archival footage, and I had this old interview of her, and I got the office shared with me a couple of their old interviews as well. Unfortunately, there was very little archival footage with our TV channels. I went to a few, but they hardly had anything. They're not very good with their archives. So I remember when her brother watched the film, and he'd come to my house because I'd done a screening for just a few friends. So he'd come over, and he watched it, and then he just said one thing at the end, after watching this film, it feels like we've spent some time with Perween, and he though is a brother, and he just said, it seems like you've really brought across what Perween was like. And to me, that was like the nicest compliment. We were like, okay, I'm glad that I was able to just highlight from whatever little snippets I had, the how she was as a person, and also like her outlook on life. A lot of unki baatein in the film are about how she sort of thought about things, and how she encouraged people to shine, and she was quite an inspiration. And so, yeah, whoever watches the film, even to this day, they are just absolutely blown over by her personality. And I think a lot of the work, I think, was only possible, I think, and how people cooperated with her so much because of her personality. And I say she was one in a million. There are not many people like this in the world. One in millions. And whoever she met, no matter how busy she would be, she just made you feel special. So like if you saw her somewhere and you went up to her, it's like we had so much to talk about, and everyone misses her a lot. And I'm glad I was able to just put together a little something about her life and work at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. That was really wonderful, and that really does come across just from the fact, like the way you begin the film itself. It's like it really feels like you're celebrating her life, and the film is so little about her death, actually. And yeah, that was really nice to hear. And this follow-ups to that question in a way. How do you think the film is still relevant, particularly to activists? And what challenges do activists face in Pakistan today? Activists like Perween.
Well, activists now, they can learn a lot from OPP's work, the Orangi Pilot Project, and how to work with communities to how to help them in their struggle for their rights. So I think OPP has set and a good model. It's a great model to like follow. And also she enabled people in the community to like there were so many young people who got technical guidance and training, and so then they in turn can help improve the neighborhood and the lives of people in the neighborhood. And I think it's a great resource for young people, activists, to go over and learn from the staff, and especially the mapping work. And yeah, because you can't just you have to be very sensitive. You have to work with the community, and you've got OPP's example. So definitely, I think it was and the founder of Orangi Pilot Project, Akhtar Hameed Khan, he had basically set up the system. All credit goes to him. The way he was able to get all this work done in Orangi. and Perween learned a lot from him. So yeah, she had her mentors, and she worked very closely with local activists. So I think that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it's definitely a good idea to learn from Orangi Pilot Project. And a lot of young people go to them because if you are working in Karachi and you need information, you need guidance, you need some sort of help, definitely go there and to the Urban Resource Center, which is another NGO doing amazing work. So yeah, we're lucky that we have these organizations and people over here.
Thanks, Mahera. For those who are watching us, we are almost like towards the last 10 minutes of our session. So if you have any questions, you can share it on our Zoom chat or Facebook comments, and we will take it from there. So my next question is like you mentioned in the start that you are currently working on a film about air pollution in Karachi. So is there something in particular about Karachi besides obviously being your home that keeps drawing you to make films about the city? And if you could talk about other projects that you're working on as well.
Well, I was born and raised in Karachi, and my work has taken me across the city, and so I know what the different neighborhoods are like and the issues that the city faces, and the kind of work being done over here. Now I'm just a filmmaker, so I can only document the subjects and the issues that are close to my heart. I'm still interested in a film on the natural drains of Karachi. If you ever take me near a sewage nala, I feel very happy because, you know, as a filmmaker, I want to tell the story, this story of what happens to our sewage, because it's all part of, you know, you wish that a better system was in place, and I want to highlight the efforts of people who are working on it, and to sort of show what the city could be like. So, and in telling these, in highlighting these interesting stories, that's about all I can do. So there's that. The current documentary I'm working on is on air pollution in Pakistan. So I've been going to Lahore in the winters the last couple of years and filming, and another filming spell is coming up this winter in the smog season. Karachi also faces a lot of air pollution, but being a city by the sea, much of that pollution is sort of blown away by the wind. Lahore, unfortunately, is consistently in the, you know, the top 3 polluted cities of the world, and that is very shocking. So yeah, that is so I'm filming the pollution here in Karachi as well, and on days where it's not windy, it can be like Lahore. So that is an ongoing project under production. It's going to take a while. And then also there are, what really interests me are these little hidden pockets of nature in the city. It's a huge city. It's quite spread out. And if you look at it on Google Maps, it doesn't look very green. It's also in an arid region. So there's a different kind of vegetation over here, but we see a lot of foreign species of plants being planted here, and even our parks are like barren. There's a huge park by the sea, which I just mentioned recently. I want to see it forested with native plants, and anyway, so I come across these hidden pockets of nature where things are growing wild, and you know, urban wildlife, you know, little ghost crabs running around. And so I've been trying to document them and the people and their interaction in the same space, by the coast, in the mangrove forest. So we've got a huge mangrove forest along the coast, which is unfortunately degraded as well. And one of my hopes and dreams for that ecosystem to be restored. There's a lot of deforestation, and in entire regions, there is no forest left. But those are the lungs of the city, and can you imagine? Most people haven't been there. Most people don't know that just on the outskirts of Karachi, there's a forest. For a Karachiite to even see a big tree, like when we go to other cities like Lahore and Islamabad, we get happy just seeing a big tree. It's like, oh my God, wow, it's a tree, you know. So yeah, want to highlight nature in the city, and that is also an ongoing project that I've been working on. You know, it like little delightful things. So the person who's got an owl coming to his backyard, I must contact them and sort of try to show people the nicer and more delightful side of this city in a documentary that would make you smile and laugh and not cry so much. Hopefully.
This actually reminds me the film that I think from India, All That Bleeds, which also touches a lot of these issues as well.
Amazing documentary. My goodness, I have to watch it again. I was absolutely bowled over. I mean that I hope to meet Shaunak Sen, the director, someday. What a documentary.
Yeah. So as a film student, and I know like a lot of like people who follow Screen Southasia studying film, I wanted to ask, like, how did you approach the camera work for the film? So because like I don't know, like I am thinking of the documentary Vivek by Anand Patwardhan. So he has sort of like shown like when the activist from India Gauri Ramkesh was murdered. So he has sort of he has uses sound effect of gunshots and things like that. But in case in your film, like the camera work is totally different. Like I noticed that you have shown a lot of flowers, a lot of because like Perween herself was very much into gardening and nature. So if you could talk a little bit about like what was your approach for the camera work?
Well, we sort of ended up, I guess, showing a little bit of nature in the city to sort of highlight all the things that Perween was interested in. So you see some animals, some plants, like even ants, because she would notice all these things. I heard it so many times from her colleagues of how kind-hearted she was and how she would always stop if she ever saw an injured animal and pick up the animal and try to treat it. She had pets at home as well. And in fact, when we went to her home after she passed away, there was a huge, right on her window, a huge beehive buzzing with bees. And it was almost inside her room. It was still there. They had, left it as it was. So every little thing that I would encounter, whether it was like flowers or there's a scene where there's some watering. Her gardener is like, her housekeeper is watering her plants. She had a small little garden. And then when we went there, that's what he was doing. So we filmed that while he was like talking. I think so we were just drawn to just showing those things, and it just happened very naturally. There's a shot of a bougainvillea in her garden.
I think the film starts with that as well.
Yeah. So when we were putting the film together, Talha and I, we were like, so how do we start it? And then we were in her sister's garden, which is by the sea, because she, whenever she would go there, Perween had actually set up in the backyard a fruit orchard. And generally, we have a very strong sea breeze. So people living by the sea, they always complain that nothing is growing in their garden. There's such a strong, salty like sea breeze. But that fruit orchard was like flourishing. There were guavas growing and pomegranates, and it was like so lush, because I think if you have someone who really cares about plants and is not just chopping them left, right, and center, the plants looked happy. And her sister was telling us how this is all Perween's work, and she loves the plants and looks after them. And I think we could even feel that the plants are happy. Whoever was around her, just there was like this certain happiness in them of having such a lovely person around them. And so I think these things just came out naturally. So I'm equally, and wherever we went, we filmed some birds. So we didn't go after any of it really, but it just happened naturally. And you know, like I'd happily film a sewage nala the same way. So yeah, which is maybe why, inspired by that, and also now all that, after I've seen All That Breathes, I have to watch it again. I really do want to put something together showing the sweet side of the city, which also Perween saw, because people would ask her, you know, how do you work in these conditions, or the kind of work you're doing is very difficult. She didn't think of it that way. She loved what she was doing. She was very comfortable with it, and she loved life, and she lived life to its fullest, as her sister mentions in the documentary. That for her it wasn't any hardship. Like, if you ask some people, they wouldn't even work in that neighborhood, because they'd be like, well, how do you go there every single day? But Perween loved life, and she had a lot of fun. She would always be smiling, and somehow managed to do this incredible and very difficult work with great ease.
Thank you so much, Mahera. It was really wonderful talking to you. And yeah, we are very appreciative of your time and all your thoughtful answers to our questions. And yeah, this will be available online for those listening, and for you to share as well on Himal Media, Himal Southasian's website within a week or so. And to our all our audience members, this is screenings. These Screen Southasia screenings happen every month. It's a partnership between Himal Southasian and Film Southasia. And if you have not signed up, though you'd be here, because you have signed up. If you have not signed up, please do sign up for it by going to either Film Southasia's website or Himal Southasian's website. And thank you all for your time very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mahera.